Hey, what's up guys? Today's topic is the Butterknife versus Data Binidng. If you're not familiar with those two libraries, basically in a few words, what they do is they improve your layout experience. And what I'm gonna do is when comparing them one by one, I'm gonna just start with setting up, step by step, so you will learn how to use both of them and which one to use over another. Alright, so what I have in here is an empty project. Let's create activity. I will call it old school. Old school activity. Okay, here we got our simple activity. Let's say it's the edit profile activity with a bunch of edit field text. Doesn't matter, some hint, and of course ID to access them. Edit one. Bunch of them, Let's fix IDs. Just some meaningless IDs. Yeah, let's leave it at 8. Too many. And before, what you would do is use find view by ID, edit one, introduce, edit one, all that stuff, casting. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8. Rename this stuff. 5, 6. Alright, and you can either leave them as local variables inside onCreate method, or with the Control plus Alt plus F, when your cursor is over variable name, you press that shortcut, enter, and you just extracted it as a field. Let's make it for everybody, every variable, every view, edit text. Yeah, and that's what you would do in just plain Android framework. Pretty annoying, you need to cast it, need to remember the view name, class name, find views, this IDs. Really tedious work. Then in 2013 came out Butterknife library. Let's create another activity. Empty. Butterknife. Yeah. Let's use this same layout because I don't want to write again. And you need to add those two dependencies here. Let's add them. Car project. Butterknife. Alright. And then you can do is just as a field variable declare ID, edit text 1, edit text, edit 1, let's say, and same for every view. 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, and that's it. Now you have those views as field variables. You can access them anywhere in onCreate or any other method within this class. Great, right? You don't need those annoying find views by IDs, casting. Still, you kind of like declare the class yourself. You still kind of like find view by ID. It's just less code. So it reduces number of lines. And this is great, right? Now let's see for the data binding. So data binding came out in 2015. What you need to do is to set it up just inside the Android scope. Add this those lines. Data binding enabled true and sync. Okay, let's create new activity. Let's call it data activity. And continuing with setup, I'm just gonna copy the layout you used before, and what you need is to wrap it with layout tag. So with data binding, your layout would look like that. Everything within the layout tag. When you do that, where is our activity? And now instead of set content view, use data binding util dot set content view, which takes activity as the first argument, then introduces variable. And what data binding library would do for you is generate class based on the layout name, activity data binding, convert it to camel case plus binding at the end. So look at what class is generated for us from this layout. Activity data binding, you see binding at the end. Now you can either leave this binding as local variable and access any of your views here, or same, what I like to do is just save it as field, and you can access any of your views in here. Look at how much code you save writing and time actually. Here you need to keep in mind all the classes, all the IDs, right? You need to go, probably you would go, to layout and back, to layout and back, declaring those fields, especially if you have like a bunch of them right away, written right away. With data binding, you have the power of autocomplete, control space, and then you see all the classes already, all the types there, right? You don't need to go to layout and back each time. And look at how much time we saved. Great, right? That's just one of the features finding use, which data binding is obvious winner in here. Let's see what Butterknife can offer. Not much. Find views. Eliminate anonymous in a class for inner listeners with onClick. I mean, you don't even need to use any library. You can, it's Android namespace attribute on click, and you just write method name here, create method, and it creates on click listener for your activity. You know, you don't need any libraries. I don't know, maybe in 2013 there was a case, but not now. That's just plain old Android. What else? Eliminate resource lookups. Well, maybe this one is useful. You don't have it with Data Binidng, but not a problem for me. I'd rather have a better finding views. I don't use that finding resources that much. Alright, and basically that's all that Butterknife can offer, right? Old school ugly find views, binding views, compared to, look at this clean Data Binidng approach, right? And Data Binidng has lots of more to offer. Let's continue with close the old school stuff. So what you can do also is declare this data attribute, then variable inside, and let's call it movie. So in sample project it kind of does make sense, this kind of stuff, but in real projects, when you have like models and lots of classes, it's really useful. Let's say we have like a list of movies app and simple poja called movie, private string name, poster URL, trailer URL, constructor, getter setters, done. Right. And what you would do, for example, fetching movies from server, you know, then you fetch it, let's say, here it is, just sample, you know, let's say you fetched it, this movie, and then what you would do is let's say it's just a text view, and you set text, movie, get name, etc. You know, for every other field you would do that in Java class, right? With the Data Binidng you can keep the logic in XML, which is more natural. Let's so you declare this data tag, and inside you can declare variables, as many variables as you want. Just keep it one. Movie, the type is movie, and then in here in XML, let's say we just set in text of text view, right? It's a text view. And then inside here you start with add, open close curly braces, then movie, which is name of the variable over here, and then just name. You don't need to write get name, just a variable name. And when you fetched your movie, or you created it manually, just call binidng set movie. This method is generated for you, and pass your object. As soon as you call this method set movie with object, this edit text view text will be called, and yeah, you don't need to write any Java class Java code anymore. And you know, when you have like huge fields with a bunch of fields like 10, 15 it really save lots of Java class. I mean, it's not that you actually save some writing code, because basically it's same number of lines, right? Almost. Is that just it's more natural to write it in XML than in Java, because you would probably go back and forward from XML to Java, you know, checking IDs, you know, view IDs, because you need to access them in Java to set. But in here it's more natural, right? When you just write in XML code, it's really natural. You know that this what you want to display with this text you write, and here it is. It says right away. Even when you just, you know, going through the somebody's code or your own old code, it's way easier to just open one class, right, layout, and just see what each view displays, rather than going back and forward from Java to XML, from Java, you know, because if you look at old school, like, or Butterknife, you would still, you know, knowing the type isn't enough, you know, you would still go to XML to check how it looks, what attributes it has, you know, how it looks basically. When in XML you already see everything you need to know, which is one of the most advantages that this data binding gives. And data binding has even more to offer, lots of more. I'm just gonna cover the last thing, is binding adapters. Basically, you can extend any view. You can create custom attributes for any view without extending those views. Cool, right? Let's say we have image view. No more hint. Image. What you would do basically when you want to load some image to image view, you would use your Glide or Picasso, any library you like, to load it right into the image. How would you want to have like attribute called like this, image URL, and then, you know, you pass your image URL, right? Always wanted that, right? You can create this yourself. App image URL, add, open close curly braces, a movie, and this poster URL, which is name of the variable here. Alright, and now anywhere in your project, you know, anywhere, doesn't matter which class you choose, create public static void image URL, pass view type. View type has to be string URL with annotation, binding adapter. Just copy this, and that's it, you know, Glide. So you can put this class anywhere in your code, even here, you know, in your model, because it's public and it's static with annotation. Let's just keep it here. So you see here, you declare the namespace, just use app always, you know, and variable attribute name. Here it is. The kind of data binding syntax, which is add, open close curly braces, and pass the variable, you know. And as soon as you call binding set movie, all of those by data binding, you know, will be triggered, and this method will be triggered, this one, and image will be loaded itself. How cool is that? So you just declare this method once and you can have image URL attribute for all of your views. Cool, right? The only thing is that you cannot just here declare the URL. That's kind of one of the disadvantages I found. You know, if you wanna just pass the URL without any model, just a string, just a class string, you would still have to create a variable, you know, URL, which is com.java, right? Java len string, and then you would here you would declare it this way. It's kind of like annoying. I know you would probably want hard code value in here, but you cannot do that. You would still have to set URL in here in Java class. You cannot hard code it in XML. But for actual models, you know, real projects, because in real projects you have huge models with a bunch of fields, this is really useful. You just have one method in Java, all the logic in XML, which is very natural, and yeah, create as many custom attributes as you want, you know. And Data Binidng has lots of more to offer. So you can see that, I mean, even chronologically Data Binidng came out after Butterknife, so obviously it's better, right? And you saw that how much Butterknife has more boilerplate code compared to Data Binidng. Data Binidng came out like soon after I started Android, so I just used Butterknife for I think one time, and then when I saw Data Binidng I realized that this is the better thing, and I switched to it. So me personally, I use Data Binidng all the time. It's up to you what you want to choose. I hope that you learned something here, and definitely check out those two libraries, whatever you prefer. And thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like the video. Take care.